This is the StudioLive 16 by PreSonus, and without a rehearsal, I figured I'd take this out and let's see if I can do a show on it. A friend of mine actually owns this mixer, and he's trying to move it, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'm interested in it. So I've heard a lot about it on paper, and maybe it's a good console. So I decided to pick it up from him, and we're going to see if I can actually do a show on this thing. The StudioLive 16 is a compact 16-channel mixer as far as local XLR inputs. However, you can use the stage box to modify it up to 32 XLR inputs. Most consoles have dedicated knobs for certain functions, like here's an EQ section, here's a gate section, here's an input gain section. This console doesn't do that. This console uses the PreSonus fat channel style, and depending on which parameter, input, gate, compression, EQ that you select, these 8 rotary knobs will actually turn into the parameter controls for whatever button you select. This mixer is almost a hybrid mixer in the sense of, yes, you can take it out for a live event, but it's also designed to work with the world famous Studio One DAW software from PreSonus. So you can actually do channel control on the DAW with this console built right in. So you can go to the EQ section on this console, and you can actually EQ in your DAW from the physical controls of this console. It does have sends on faders, so simply push a button to get into mix 1, make a change and go back to your main mix, or vice versa, jump into 2, 3, your effects sends that way as well. Several buttons up top, input, gate, compressor, EQ, and then my favorite is the aux sends. So during a live show, you can push aux sends, everyone hold their hand up until they have the input that I want, and I can easily send it to all the mixes. Outputs on this mixer are very flexible. In fact, actually all of the routing on this console is extremely flexible, but the outputs specifically have 6 XLR outs and then 2 1/4-inch aux outs as well. So this console could be really good for feeding your mains, but then also having a couple of stereo in-ears available as well. I'm at Bad Apple's Saloon today. I've had about 20 minutes, maybe an hour on this mixer, just kind of poking around it before I got to my event today. So let's see how things go. What are the good? What are the bad? I'm going to use all analog inputs today. Now, I'm still a fan of copper, and because I can fit this band within the 16 channels, we're going to use the copper analog. However, if you need more inputs, you can use their digital stage boxes. Now, this mixer does not come equipped with Dante, AES. It actually comes with AVB, and AVB is just another audio networking protocol. So you may actually already own some AVB equipment that you can use with this mixer in your studio if you're into studio work. So you may have some preamps, you may have some outboard gear that run on the AVB network, and you could easily plug them into this mixer and get things going. If you do purchase a stage box from PreSonus, it looks really simple. It looks like it's plug and play, pretty much ready to go. And then you can use the navigation pages on the mixer to get 32 channels, and you can accommodate, twice as much with a digital stage box. Something very cool about PreSonus's ecosystem is you can buy their rack mixers. These are standalone consoles to mix audio, but this allows for the stage and front of house to have independent mixes from each other. This is great, so that way you can EQ your in-ears. This is great for EQing instruments, specifically in-ears or live wedges. It's just great overall to have the best mixing capabilities. Now, my friend knew I was looking for a more compact mixer, something I can easily throw in and out of the car. And he was like, hey, why don't you take this one out and give it a try? And I said, it probably will sound better than an X32.
You figured it out?
Not quite yet, but we'll get there.
This will be a great show tonight.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right, Artie. It'll be all right. I am aware, though, that if any minuscule thing happens, you're going to be like, oh, well, it's because you brought that board today.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be all over.
Oh, I know you are. Sound is good. Okay. I really am out here in left field. I have not used this mixer yet. So right now, it looks like I have mains, and I'm going to try to figure out how to get a matrix-fed sub situation. Now, this touchscreen is nice, but I did occasionally have the issue where, okay, I select this output. I want this output to go to this physical output, this digital to physical. And I would hit, like, for instance, output 6 to be mix 6, but it would change it to 5. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I just have to do, like, a screen calibration test. But then after several attempts, it started to work right. So I don't really know what was going on. I don't know if it was user error. I don't know if the screen was just glitching. But the menu was easy to navigate. So here I'm looking at using the stereo left-right for the mains and the mono send for the subs, which is something you absolutely can do. Today, these old guys are all going to be on wedges, so I got to get some wedges out, run some cables and signal flow to them this evening. I won't do any center fills today. I honestly don't think we're going to have the turnout needed to run them, so let's get these set up, and we'll make sure that we can get on stage and control them with this Studio Live. Hey. How are you?
Good, how you been?
I'm all right.
You already know we need monitors, right?
Yep. As I'm literally pushing monitors in my hand, and I already have 2 out. So at this point in the day, I'm still iffy on the mixer. I can tell that it's a quality mixer in that it's got great potential. I just don't know what I'm doing on it yet. Something that my friend told me, he was like, hey, the fat channel can be kind of confusing if you're not into it for the EQ section. He was like, it's touchscreen, there's knobs duplicated on the touchscreen. So he's like, kind of one, it's real similar to like Yamaha's a one knob. So I kind of ran it like that evening, and let's see how it goes. Now, a lot of you rely heavily on an iPad, so I figured, hey, let's see if we can set it up. The one weird thing about the StudioLive Wi-Fi setup is that you have to put a password in to be able to use the app, like as a remote password, I guess you could say. And then you have to give permission to each device what it's going to do. So in this case, I said, hey, on this device, I need front of house control. And that gives me full control of the StudioLive 16. If you are in a band, you could say, hey, drummer, you only get mix 4. Hey, guitar player, you only get mix 2, and so on and so on. But it works right away. All I did was plug a router in. I didn't have to go into any DHP settings. I didn't have to do any router typing. Like, I didn't put 192.168. And now I'm on stage checking wedges to verify signal flow. So overall, the iPad app, very solid. I don't understand why consoles don't come with EQ sections on. Like, when do I ever not want the EQ on an output? That's just dumb. Anyways, here, I don't even think I have this on yet. I'm trying to figure that out right now. But overall, okay, so there we go. Now it's in. But overall, the EQ section's pretty easy to navigate and get around. The connection between StudioLive Mixer and the iPad was great. Like, I totally feel like I could run a show off of this if it calls for an iPad mixing situation.
Hey, that's loud. That works.
So without having to go to routing sections, the talkback function just worked. It just outputted to all of the outputs perfectly, and now I can easily use my switchable 58, push a button to have, communication with my band on stage. This Chamsys Quick Q30 has been a solid overall lighting console for this last couple seasons. All right, so my drum kit today, super minimal. I only have a floor tom, okay? I have kick, snare, hat, floor tom, ride if I want to use it. We'll see. But, oh yeah, check out that. Leslie right there in the doorway. I have to step over cables. That's just a blast. Now, without all of these toms, this is perfect because I'm going to save a bunch of inputs and be able to use a 16-channel mixer. We'll rock the 57 on the snare today. This Ultimate stand is probably my favorite snare mic stand. The legs are super wide, which makes it very stable.
Whoa, brain blast. All right, so I'm going to change it up today.
So normally I use these little Sennheiser tom mics, but because I have an AKG D112 in my Pelican, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use this Onyx D6 for the floor tom. I'm super excited about it. I haven't been able to do it all season because usually I just have the D6 and the kick. I just started carrying this D112 to my shows, and I'm like, hey, here we go. Here's a chance to try something. But now I got to get a stand set up to get this D6 on this floor tom. We'll see how this works here and how it sounds later. Now, I'm limited on inputs, so I can't do like top and bottom. But what would you have done here? Would you have just put the Sennheiser on there? Would you have run the D6? And if you were to run the D6, would you have positioned it any differently? So here at Bad Apple, normally I don't need any overheads and I don't need sometimes I need a ride. It depends on the band. But really, I just put a hi-hat mic up just to keep rhythm for sure. But usually because of my tin roof and the solid concrete floor, like these cymbals might bleed in general. Like I usually have just a ton of cymbals. So we're not going to do any crazy overheads today, and that also helps because channel count.
Play this, and I only played on a couple songs, so I always unplug it from my guitar so the 9-volt don't go dead on me. So I
Just watch the mute for you. Gotcha.
We never sound check this guitar because everybody's worried about all the other inputs, and I totally forget about this. So we never sound check this, and I just have to do it on the fly later. So we're halfway through being pinned here on stage, and I'm able to select a channel, color code it, relabel it, so that way I know exactly what's happening out front of house. And the iPad app is actually working pretty well. I'm impressed. Oh yeah, this is also the largest harp cabinet I've ever seen. I mean, you're gonna run a harmonica through that? All right, we're going to do a couple of tap tests here. This allows me to see the audio signal on the iPad, and now I know that these microphones are showing signal in the appropriate channels at front of house. I like to do this so that way I don't go out to front of house and be like, okay, we're good to go, and then we're not, and I got to walk back and forth.
Anybody need a guitar on stage?
So I could be using the 8 rotaries to the left top of the mixer, but instead I'm touching the band that I want to adjust, and I'm using the single knob underneath the screen. Here I'm able to hit the aux sends button and turn it up in multiple mixes kind of all at the same time here. That makes it super easy to send signal on stage.
All right, give me another guitar. Oh my God, these EQs.
I'm just starting off right where my friend left off. I did not start a new scene, and that definitely was not a smart idea.
Left, right, or backwards?
Well, at least I found it before the show started. I did see a video where there was a mount on the back of the mixer that had a spot for basically a holder for the iPad. And it was kind of like, hey, if our touchscreen isn't good enough for you, you can just put your iPad right on top, and then the console or the iPad will follow each other, and it will kind of make a better user experience. So I was trying to kind of do that idea where I would like, oh, okay, I can multi-touch on the iPad for EQ cues and stuff like that. But because I don't really know one or the other, I just eventually get rid of the iPad because it was hard to learn the mixer and learn the iPad at the same time. UC Surface is great, but going back and forth was not great. And eventually, I just let the iPad be, and I focused solely on the Studio Live, so that way I knew what I was doing, and I could focus and learn it.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 2. 1, 2. They also requested a lead guitar and a monitor just a touch.
So on my vocals, initially I did not have them right. I was looking for a high-pass filter, didn't find it. I was using these low shelves to try and compensate. Eventually I figured out that the high-pass filter is actually in the input section, which is a common place for it to be, but being put in the situation where now you're trying to mix and do commands from stage, I missed it. And that definitely causes some low-end feedback during the beginning of the show because it just took me time to find the high-pass filter.
1, 1, 2. Check.
I'm bringing it up in your wedge now. Keep talking.
Check 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, 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 check.
You wanna check that in the center too? Do you walk around? Okay, yeah, here it comes, here it comes.
Check 1, 2, 1, 2. Check 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2.
Say something again for him, for the drummer.
Check 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Check.
I'm gonna EQ your wedge there. I will welcome up. Yeah.
So you told me you'd always love me. I had to believe that it's true. Well, I was the best girl sound man, can you bring the acoustic up for me, please? Thank you, guys. Here we got a couple more songs. But we've had a lot of requests for this, the only country song we do. So here's a little Tennessee whiskey for you.
Here, find your monitor. Out there testing me to see if we could hear you. Is that what I saw?
Well, in a normal gig where we don't have a sound man out front, because our drummer doesn't sound from the stage, I'm the guy that has to go out.
Gotcha.
You know, I'm just used to doing that.
Yeah.
No, it sounds real good.
Was it all right on stage? I literally got a mixer that I've never used before an hour and a half before you guys got here, set it up, and just started using it. So I was kind of in left field all night tonight.
No, it was good.
Awesome.
It was
Good.
very good.
So the PreSonus held up great. The mix was, it was as good as I could do with not knowing how to use a mixer. Definitely out of the box, sounds clean. The preamps sound good. Not overly warm, but very clean. So you can definitely polish your sound with this mixer. Now, out of the box, there's no outboard gear emulation. Like if you're used to an X32 and you want to use the wave designer or the multi-band compressors and the rotary effects and stuff like that, or the compressor emulations, None of that stuff is in the Studio Live. They do have some of those that you can purchase and install digitally because they are plugins that work with their DAW and can also run live on their mixer. So keep that in mind. You may have to spend like $150 to get some extra tools. If you already are invested in waves, you can run waves. If you're already invested in AVB gear, you can run your outboard AVB gear. So overall, this is a high quality mixer. It is something that is very versatile. I do think that if I had as many hours on this as something like an X32 or an M32, I may actually favor it. However, I have so much money invested in the X32 and the Behringer ecosystem that it doesn't financially make sense for me to switch to the PreSonus ecosystem just quite yet. But if I continue to make these videos, the SD card, multi-track recording, the DAW control, those things could become definite powerhouse things, reasons for me to switch from a content creator standpoint over the Behringer and Midas ecosystems. So, oh shiznizzle.
Save and close? Maybe.
I do think the console could be an X32 killer with enough time on it.
Huh, okay. It is now safe to power off your mixer. Shuts off. Sweet.